So Selenium 3 we have seen. Selenium 3 there is bit lengthy process, and it is also faster, but still they want to improvise the code. Okay, so how they can improvise is so basically they just made a small change in Selenium 4 architecture. So what is that is they removed the JSON wire protocol concept and they implemented a W3C consortium. So basically W3 standards applied. Every browser has a W3 standards, right? And so they implemented based on that concept. So what they did, they directly, made a connection to server, so that you don't need again conversion of UI code into JSON, and then that all complexities they avoided. So in the Selenium 4, so that means you simply say what are the changes happened in Selenium 4. If they ask you, just say implemented W3 standardization in the architectural changes. So that's the first point. Second point, Selenium grid is enhanced. So before Selenium grid, Selenium 4 before, Selenium grid is just two components, basically master and node. Okay, master and slave, like that. Okay, a master node will send the request to a slave, basically a slave or node. A node is nothing but different machines. Okay, different machines, and so that's a combination, and you have to start it independently before Selenium 4. So master you have to start separately, and nodes you have to start separately. That was the problem in Selenium 3. So now Selenium grid is enhanced with a lot of new features. So you will get everything, even kind of a dashboard also for monitoring logs. So that we'll see what are the different components are there in Selenium grid of Selenium 4. So basically in Selenium 4, you have hub and node are packed in a single jar file. Before it was a different jar files. In Selenium 4, what they did, hub and node are packed in single jar file. That's the first point you need to understand. If you start one, so all will be started. You don't need to start separately. That's another second point. And grid supports IPv6 addresses. So you can allow the users to communicate with the grid using HTTPS protocol and also along with TLS connections. That's one major change implemented in Selenium 4. So Selenium grid has a more scalable and traceable infrastructure. So basically you have a lot of components. What are the more components are? You have a router, session map, distributor, and node. So these are all the different components in Selenium grid. And also Selenium grid supports with a Docker, so Docker support is implemented in the Selenium grid. So which allows the testers and developers, you can spin up the containers and you can run so multiple machines, right? Multiple machines. So you don't, it's easy if you know Docker concept. It's a containerization tool. And so they created images. That images you can use and you can create a lot of containers. And so each container you can run so different application test cases also. If you are set set of test cases also you can run. That's advantage with this Docker concept of Selenium. And another thing is it supports other so cloud services like AWS, Amazon, Azure, Google Cloud. All these areas you can run your test cases on the cloud environment also. So that's all the lot of changes happened on Selenium Grid, okay, 4. So please remember at least a few of them and answer one by one. So improvement in Selenium 4 IDE. So Selenium 4 IDE, you know Selenium IDE is just a record and playback tool, right? So initially it was only supporting Firefox. Later they added for Chrome. Now they added for Edge also. So the support, so extended to other browsers also. So that is this Selenium 4 so enhancements. And also so before there was no conditional statements in the Selenium IDE. Now you can add conditionals in the Selenium IDE tool itself. That's another thing. And also, so while if conditions you can add in Selenium IDE. And you have extra, so the Selenium IDE runner is there, which you used to, even run on Node.js platform. So that extra so feature they added for Selenium IDE. Before it was not there. Now you can run on any platforms, even Node.js platforms also you can run it. Another thing is, so you can convert the recorded script into different programming language formats. Suppose you want to export your recorded script into Java JUnit format. You can do that. And Python PyTest format, you can do that. So that means, record and you can convert the script into desired programming language format and with unit testing frameworks. So that's the very good feature. You don't need to write the code, just record and you can export it and you can use it in your Selenium WebDriver. And I hope you understand Selenium Grid and Selenium WebDriver, what is the main use cases, right? Selenium Grid, you don't need to write a separate test cases. Whatever the test cases you have written in Selenium WebDriver, same test cases you can run on different machines, basically. Like you want to run on Linux, Firefox, Windows, Edge browser, and Mac, Safari browser. So different browser and operating system combinations, if you want to run, you can basically scale up these environments with a Selenium Grid concept, and you can run them. So that's a main grid concept, okay? And so that kind of programs, the code you can export and you can run it. Say for example, you are having a little bit programming language, you don't need to worry. You record that all your step by step and you can export that to so whatever the language you are going to write automation test cases, that language format, and you can just copy paste in your Eclipse and you can reuse it back. Just small modifications might required, but most of the code you will get it, right? So that's the advantage. Okay. Any questions? And still we have more features of Selenium 4. Fourth one is relative locators. Sir, what is that? We have seen Selenium locators. So what is this relative locators? The extra locators they have given. You have Selenium locators. ID, name, class name, CSS selector, XPath, tag name, link text, partial link text. These are the WebDriver locators, right? Apart from that, they are giving a extra concepts, extra object identification mechanisms. Those are called relative locators. Relative means what, you know, right? I already told in the relative expert time, right? It's a very close, right? So or your relation also you can call, right? Relative means. So here relative means very close to particular element. Maybe particular element above, below, left to, right to. You can identify with these methods. What are the methods? Left to, right to. Here you can see near to, left of, right of, above and below. You can use these functions to recognize any element. For example, one base element is there. So the before element, it is changing. Then just you say left of this element or right of this element. If you don't want to use that element properties and you want to use other element as a base and you want to identify, that time these relative locators are very, very, very helpful. So only Selenium was not having before Selenium 4, and they included that also. Other tools are having these concepts. So that is the relative locators concept. And Chrome debugging protocols, CDP we call this. This is the very interesting, you already aware of, developer tools, right? So many of you are aware of developer tools. What is meant by developer tools? Any idea? What is meant by developer tools? So basically, right click, inspect. So this is the all developer tools. So these are all the developer tools. So like console, elements, network tab, performance, application. So these are all the developer tools. Okay. So for example, each page, network topic, if you want to see, you have to come to network tab. And so you can see each, all the requests in this page loaded or not. How can you check that? So that you can check. So if every call is, having so 200 status code or not, you can find out. If any no request fails, you can catch it easily here. So that's a one. And generally you will use for elements, right? These are the other things. And also performance of the application you can find out here, memory and application. So you can see local storage and session storage. These are very useful. Okay, so these things you can get all these values, this console logs. See, you are seeing a lot of logs, right? The errors. So these console logs also you can get using Selenium concepts. You can automate network tab related APIs, all of them you can get them. And even particular API response you can get with the Selenium concept. And that's one of the good feature, this CDP. So you can capture and monitor the network traffic performance. You can mock geolocations for location aware testing, localization and internalization. Change the device mode and exercise the responsiveness of the application. So all these features you can use with this CDP concept. Basically, you have to use get devtools method and execute CDP command. So these are the two methods you will use widely, okay, to work with these developer tools. And so another thing is multiple windows and tabs management. Basically, multiple windows and tabs management you can do easily in Selenium 4. Before, if you want to switch between the tabs, you have to get all the tab IDs and you have to switch to that tab, right? So now you can get directly, so window type dot window, if you give, a new window will open. So window type dot tab, if you give in this method, new window, and you give window type dot window, it will automatically open a new window. Window type dot tab, if you give, a new tab will open automatically. Cursor also will go there. So that's the advantage with this, Selenium 4. Easily you can handle tabs and multiple windows. Okay. So next, this is another very important, telemetry and GraphQL. So telemetry and GraphQL. So a framework called OpenTelemetry. So it is added to the Selenium grid concept. So what this will do is this telemetry. So this will give more observability in the grid console. So what is happening inside the console when you're running the test cases, you can see easily with this telemetry concept. Okay. And that's the one of the very important feature in the Selenium grid. And you have another thing, GraphQL endpoints. So grid has a new front-end console, so which is powered by GraphQL endpoint. So which is going to help testers to run the GraphQL queries, so against the Selenium grid machines. So that's the this telemetry and GraphQL concepts included in Selenium Grid 4. Improved documentation. So the documentation was very old, okay? And till Selenium 3, they didn't maintain proper documentation. All the old code, everything is, it was there. Now in Selenium 4, what they clean up everything and they, put it everything in the order, and unused code, they moved it to deprecated place, and neatly created a document. So that's the, so all the 8 changes they made, but still we have few more changes. So what are those things? Are deprecation of desired capabilities. Before Selenium 4, there is a desired capabilities class, so which is basically used to set the browser configurations, so operating system versions, such kind of options. If you want to set, we used to use a desired capabilities class. That capabilities class object dot, and you all call the methods. But in Selenium 4, what they did is they deprecated that class and they have given browser-wise options class. Now you create object plus, and for the particular browser, like Firefox, you have a Firefox options class. So you want to make some settings in the Firefox, you have all the methods in this class, all non-static methods. So you create object for this class and you call the methods. What are the changes you want to make in that browser? Same methods are there in the Chrome options class also, if you want to make changes for Chrome browser. Same like Edge browser, Safari browser, all this options class browser wise they provided, and you can make any changes in that particular browser settings you can make. So that's how this they deprecated, and they added options class for every browser. That's one change. So changes in the actions class. Actions class basically will use for keyboard and mouse actions purpose. You will use this actions class, and that actions class methods before Selenium 3 you have to write like this: click web element, move to element, dot click. Now what they did is just click web element. See, they removed this concept, this method. So what they did is they called inside the click method and this one, and they made this one. That's a change they made. Basically, you can call one method inside another method, right? In the same class. So that's what they did. So click web element there. So automatically it will move and perform the click action on that element. So like that, all they made, click and hold also, context click also, double click, release, all these methods are so refined basically. So that's another change. And last change, so deprecation of finds by class is basically deprecated. So that's another change. And main change in the fluent wait class is the wait class. And in this, with the timeout, polling every methods are changed with a parameter count. So before there were two parameters in Selenium 3. What they did in Selenium 4 is with the one parameter, they have changed it. So what that one parameter is, polling every parenthesis inside duration class dot milliseconds or seconds or nanoseconds or hours, days, the constants you have to give it here. So for polling every and with the timeout methods, before it was two parameters. Now they made one parameterized methods. These methods are made one parameterized methods. And that's the change in the Selenium 4.0. Okay, so that's all about theory little bit, but still we have a theory. And next class, we'll download the Selenium jar files and we'll write a code in the next class. So don't miss. And tomorrow you take a break and one day and we'll join back on